KP classes dedicated to excellence.
Hello everyone, as you are aware, we at KP Classes have launched a course for CEED examination, which is a 71-day course encompassing the complete syllabus of both Part A and Part B of your CEED examination. And this has been one of our most successful courses, both in terms of student results and also in terms of the comprehensiveness, the quality of the content of this particular course. So as you are aware, CEED examination is scheduled to be conducted in the mid of January every year, approximately around 15 to 20th of January. So mid of January every year, that's a target date for the examination. Now the good thing about this 71-day course for CEED examination is it is not only a course of lectures, it includes recorded lectures along with a lot of practice tests and also reference study material for your preparation of the CEED examination. So you can utilize this amount, so you can use this particular course for your preparation for the upcoming CEED examination to cover the complete preparation of both Part A and Part B. And many students are confused as to how to prepare for Part A, and this course will be really helpful in that particular context. So this particular video is an introductory video for the CEED 71-day course, wherein I will take you through the details of the course and the preparation methodology, the resources you get, and all the details you need to know before you kickstart your preparation. So first, to begin with, if I talk briefly about the examination, I'm sure most of you are aware, but just for those who are new for CEED examination, CEED exam has two parts, Part A and Part B. Even our course, the 71-day course, also is structured in alignment with the official pattern of the CEED examination and also the recent updated syllabus of the CEED examination. So if I talk about the examination, there are two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A, so as at a exam level for the overall examination, it will be an exam for 3 hours. Now these 3 hours examination is divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A is a computer based examination, computer based test. This will be for 1 hour and the weightage of it will be 150 marks. And Part B is a examination which is predominantly sketching based, so it is pen and paper based examination. Excuse me. So it is where you need to answer the questions on a sheet of paper which is given on a booklet, basically answer booklet which is given for you, and this has a higher weightage and a higher duration. It's a 2-hour exam, 2-hour portion is for Part B, and the total weightage of it is 100 marks. Now you see, when I say marks, I'm telling that this is only 100 marks. Why am I saying that this is of higher weightage even though it looks like it is of less marks? Because the final CEED score is based on a combination of these marks you score in Part A and Part B, wherein the weightage for Part A is only 25%. So the final score for the CEED examination is 0.25 into the marks scored in Part A plus 0.75 into the marks scored in Part B. So that will be the formula which is used for your final CEED score calculation. Now you might think, okay, this computer based test is having only 25% weightage, it is 0.25 into marks scored in Part A, so can we have focus only on Part B and not on Part A? No. So the pattern of CEED itself is developed in such a way that both are equally important. Now in terms of marks, weightage, Part B might look important, but remember, for those students who do not qualify Part A, Part B is not even checked. I'm repeating again, you have to attempt both Part A and Part B on the same day, 3-hour examination, which is generally in the mid of January, like I said. But your Part B your Part B answer sheet will be checked only if you qualify in Part A. And how do you qualify in Part A? So that depends on the difficulty level. It's not a fixed cutoff score for every year, rather the cutoff score is relative in terms of performance of the students. Cutoff for Part A is always released as the average score of all the candidates plus half of the standard deviation. So this is the standard formula which IIT Bombay uses to define the cutoff of the general category, unreserved category, for the computer based test of Part A. So if you qualify this, to broadly speak about percentage, out of every 100 students only 30 students qualify, approximately, very broadly, approximately around 30% of the students only qualify part A. So you have to be among those top 30% students, qualify part A, and then you will be then your part B will be checked. So you see, both are equally important. Weightage might be higher for part B, but qualifying part A is even more important, because if you don't even qualify part A, there is no you will not be even selected, you will not, your score even will not be calculated. So remember that as an overall process. So in our preparation, in our 71-day course as well, considering the weightage pattern of the CEED examination and the cutoff calculation, we have developed a course curriculum which will give equal importance to all the core concepts required for both part A and part B. That's with respect to the introduction for the examination. So moving on to the in general, what is the cutoff? Now students also have this doubt, what should we expect in general out of 150? So generally the cutoff, if in the recent years, if you look into the recent past, around 50 to 55 marks has been the cutoff. So around 50 to 55 is what you should target, and in your preparation you have to give your 100%, and you should target to be among the top 30% in part A, and you have to do wonderful in part B. That's when you'll get a good rank and get a good college and course easily through the CEED examination. So because it is a relative performance and not a fixed cutoff, you have to give your 100% both in your preparation and also during the examination. Now talking about the course structure, the 71-day course by KP classes, it includes part A and part B. Like I said, we have subdivided each of these parts, both part A and also part B, into 4 modules. Part A has 4 modules including, so this categorization is based on 3 main aspects. Number 1, the recent syllabus which has been updated by the CEED from IIT Bombay for the CEED examination. Number 2, based on the official the official question papers, the recent trends. And number 3, based on the difficulty level which changes every year, so by looking into the recent trends, so past question papers, recent updates, and the official syllabus, all these have been considered in developing this course curriculum. So four sections or 4 modules for part A include analytical aptitude, visual and spatial reasoning, logical reasoning, and then you have design knowledge and creativity. We'll talk about the details of each of these modules. Similarly, part B also, there are 4 modules, and for part B, that is sketching and creativity or design based questions. For that part, the modules are developed in an incremental manner. In part A, the modules are mutually exclusive, they're not related. Each of these modules address different subjects or different areas of part A. But for part B, the modules are developed in an incremental approach, starting from the foundational basic skills, then the core concepts and core skills which you have to develop, then learning about the application of those in design and sketching, and finally question solving the questions and question solving skills. So part B is developed in a, so you see the level of detail which has been gone into the development of the course. Part A are mutually exclusive modules covering the entirety of the syllabus. Part B is an incremental module structure with 4 modules, wherein you learn from the basics to the application and question solving skills, along with the solutions for past CEED questions. So that's a broad idea. Let me talk about the details of each of these modules, what we teach and what we cover in each of these modules. Starting with the first module of part A, that is analytical aptitude. Now, not one second, it's not like all the lectures I'm going to teach you. Some of the parts were taught by me as well personally, and there are experts in each domain, which so the design part, there's a separate faculty for design. So every area has been dealt by a subject matter expert of that particular portion, and that adds to the overall quality of our course. So talking about part A, the first module is analytical aptitude, which has 5 lectures. So we generally use the term day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it is not necessary that you stick to only 1 lecture a day. If you are good at one topic, you can cover 2 lectures per day as well. So you have to, that's flexibility from your end, even though it's a 71-day course with 71 recorded lectures plus additional lectures for practice and also past CEED papers. So it's not just 71 lectures, don't have that misconception. There are a lot of practice tests and other study material too, which you have to cover as a part of this course. So there are 5 lectures in the analytical aptitude, which cover first one, that is geometry, which includes basics of 2D geometry, covering concepts of length, area based calculations. Number 2, the second lecture would be volume and packaging, which basically relates to the optimization of packaging and also 3D geometry based calculations. The third one is probability, which also which again is an important area for part A, the computer based test. Then you have speed and distance under analytical aptitude, and finally graphical organizers or graphical representation, charts and data representation. So that's the fifth lecture. Moving on to the second module. So in simple terms, the first module covers topics which involve basic math. That is the first module of analytical aptitude. The second module is visual and spatial reasoning, which includes from day 6 to day 14, which include the topic of visualization of composition, form and view. So this again is similar. So visualization of composition relates to mainly 2D compositions. Form, views and perspective relates to 3D objects or 3D visualization of objects and questions related to it. Now the sessions are developed in a way to answer all the three models of questions. In the CEED exam, I'm sure you know that there are three types of questions: multiple choice questions, multiple select questions and numerical answer type questions. So even in the lectures too, all the three types of questions are tried to cover in each and every module. We try to include questions, some of them past CEED examination questions too, and some non-CEED questions as well. All the patterns of the questions are tried to include. We have tried to include all the three models in the part A lectures. Visualization, form, and then you have the 8th lecture, that is pseuography, which includes understanding shadows and how they work. Then folding and unfolding. Remember, pseuography from part A, computer based test point of view, is covered in part A. Again, the same lecture is also taught in the sketching topic, wherein you learn the skills of basically pseuography and shadow and how to represent it in drawing. So both are separate. So both the skills are developed as a part of this course. Then you have vertices, edges and surfaces, which relates to again 3D forms. Counting shapes, that's day 11. Day 12 is tessellation, which includes basically compositions which are interlocking in nature in simple terms. Then you have movement and path traced based questions. So this is again a repeated area which has been asked. Now remember one thing, if you look into the official CEED paper or official CEED syllabus, if you look into the official brochure of CEED and look into the syllabus of it, you will not find the use of word tessellation or movement and path traced stamps. So these topics are not mentioned in the official CEED syllabus. They will just provide you the broad areas that you will find these words, the name of the modules you might come across. But exactly what you have to cover in it, that is based on the past analysis of all the CEED papers, which our in-house faculty team has developed with utmost care given to the official syllabus and also the recent pattern. So movement and path trace, and then finally you have stamps and print, which again something is related to the 2D composition or slightly advanced version of it. So stamps and print, that is day 14. Moving on to the third module, which is logical reasoning, covering from day 15 to 22. It includes sequence and series, coding and analogies, gates and pulleys. There are numerical questions. This is something which is important in the CEED examination, particularly from numerical answer type questions point of view. Calculations related to load and pulley calculations, gear calculations, number of gears or pulleys turning clockwise, anti-clockwise, visualizing that, and also load based calculations are asked in the CEED examination. So that is dealt in detail in this topic of gates and pulleys. Then you have puzzles, which are basic reasoning based puzzles in the examination, cubes and dice, clocks and calendar. Then you have directions, and finally some miscellaneous reasoning based questions also have been compiled into day 22. So that is logical reasoning module. Then the fourth module is design knowledge and creativity, which is CEED specific and design specific in nature, including the topics of color theory in design, letters and fonts, understand. So this again, there are tricks to learn how to view the different types of fonts, how to recognize different characters. So that is something which is dealt, not just solving questions, but the skill set is something which is important, you have to develop. So that is what the lecture focuses on. Then day 25, that is animation and frames. 26, that is design functionality 1, design functionality 2. So basically design functionality is where day-to-day working principles and objects are covered, and the working principles are asked in the form of MCQs or MSQs in the examination generally. So that is covered in 2 days, day 26 and 27. Then you have history of art, which is a theoretical area. Then you have photography. There are some technical terms you need to know with respect to photography, which are asked. At least one question from photography is asked every year. So that is day 29. And finally you have general knowledge and awareness, which again is a broad area. Some important topics of general awareness, general knowledge which are important from CEED point of view, dealt with it in the day 30. So these first 30 lectures will cover the entirety of part A, the complete practice of the computer based test, where you need to score, like I said, the cutoff is generally around 50. You have to target at least around 70 plus, 75 plus to have a safer margin beyond cutoff, and also score well in the final score. Final calculation of the score has 25% weightage to part A as well. Talking about part B and the approach in it, like I said, part B, unlike part A, is not a mutually exclusive module design. This is an incremental one where we start with the foundation. So the first module is foundation and basic concepts, wherein the focus will be on understanding what are the best practices, how to score well in the examination, basically what are the areas based on which you will get marks. So best practices, understanding that even before you start anything, learn anything, that is important. So day 32 is foundational drawing techniques, day 33 is design fundamentals or principles of design, you can say. Day 34 is exploring 2D and 3D shapes and how to basically sketch them and show them in the form sensitivity based questions. So I hope you know, in the CEED examination there will be 5 questions in your part B, in the sketching part. There's a question on sketching, there's a question on creativity, there's a question on form visualization or form sensitivity, then there's a question on visual sensitivity, and finally problem identification. So there are 5 questions on creativity. Now for the question on creativity, there can be questions based on storyboarding or say mascot creation. All those questions can be included in the form of the creativity itself. There's a question on sketching, where they will give you a basic scene and ask you to sketch it from the point of view of a person. Like if you look into one of the recent CEED papers, there was a question where 2 children are in a forest running away from a wild animal and a fox is looking at this scene. You have to sketch it from the point of view of the fox. So they will give you point of view and a scene, and then you need to sketch. So learning that, so understanding the basic forms, 2D and 3D forms, that is a basic approach which you need to have in learning the skill set required for sketching as well. Then there's a question on form sensitivity, and there's also a question on the visual sensitivity. Now these questions are also not always of same type. There can be questions on creating icons. One of the recent papers, there was a question related to creating icons related to representation of various animals in a zoo. So you have to understand, and your sensitivity, visual sensitivity is checked, how you visualize texture, how you depict them, how you maintain a common visual theme in the set of icons. All those are important in this question. And finally, problem identification. So these are the 5 questions you have, approximately 20 marks, so 20 into 500 marks. Problem identification, remember, is not a question where you provide a solution. It is a question where you just identify the problems. So they will give you generally a picture, ask you to identify some problems. Like recently, if I talk about the recent CEED papers, there was a question where there was a picture of a crowded train or people trying to board a train. You had to identify at least 5 problems there, probably problems related to users sitting into the train or entering into it, problem related to holding the luggage. It could be anything related to what is shown in the picture. You have to identify the problems and represent them correctly, both by writing and also by sketching. So it is a design examination where your design skills and ability to identify problems is checked in the last question. Again, I'm telling you, they are not expecting you to give a solution to a problem. They just want you to represent the problem. So learning the difference between representing a problem and finding a solution to a problem, how to sketch a diagram, not to provide a solution but to identify a problem, that is important in the CEED examination. So the incremental approach of this second module will help you score well in all the 5 questions. All the 5 areas have been dealt with in detail. So exploring 2D and 3D shapes, then conceptualizing futuristic objects, which generally will be helpful for you in form sensitivity questions. There was a question once, they give you so for example, if I give you an example of past CEED questions again, they have given a picture of a building by a famous architect Zaha Hadid, which using the form of that particular form theme of that particular design, you had to design some other object maintaining a same form and same form sensitivity. So such questions are asked. So for that you need to understand how to conceptualize futuristic objects and take inspiration from some visual themes or form themes. So that is dealt with in this day 35. Then you have techniques for texture drawing, how to represent different types of textures. Like I said, there can be icons you need to create for different textures, so you need to understand how to represent textures in drawing. Then shading and psicography, I was talking about this earlier too. Psicography is also asked in part in the form of MCQ and MSQ. Psicography is also important in the sketching based part to score well in the examination, because these are the details which they generally check for providing you marks in each of these questions. So you have to have perfection on all these fronts. Light, shade and shadow is day 38. Then you have the next module. After once you know these foundational skills, then there is core skill development, which are slightly advanced skills which you have to develop, which includes everything which is important in sketching, including introduction to perspective, 1-point, 2-point perspective, fundamentals of human anatomy, advanced human anatomy, also anatomy related to animals. Then you also have shading figures and perspective shading, memory drawing techniques, how to visualize something in your brain and put it onto a paper, composition essentials. Then you have creating dynamic scenes, psychology of color, how to use color and where to use, which color invokes which type of psychological effect, color theory and tessellation in drawing. Then visual and form sensitivity, like I said, there are 2 questions on visual sensitivity and form sensitivity both, so that is dealt with separately in the 851. Then you have observational drawing practice, so these include the core skill development. Then comes the application techniques, whatever skills you have learned in the foundational skills and also core skills, how to apply them into design in terms of futuristic. Step drawing, basically how you represent the evolution of design using step drawing. Character development, comic creation and storyboarding. There are always questions on in the creativity question. Generally you have questions related to storyboarding, where you need to create a story in frames. So understanding comic creation, storyboarding, patterns, motifs and grids, grid based sketches and form evolution, color rendering you have in day 57. Then logo and mascot design, traditional versus innovative approach in design, calligraphy techniques, brainstorming and time management, which becomes very important for the 2-hour examination in the sketching part, how to manage time and how to have a quick output which addresses those areas which can give you good score in the CEED examination. Advanced concepts in design, day 62. Then finally you have the question based module, wherein there are some questions with the solution provided, stepwise solution, and what are the areas based on which you will get good marks in the CEED examination. Those are discussed in each of these lectures. You have a sample question on sketching, there's a sample question on creativity, 2 such sample questions on creativity, then you have 2 sample questions of form sensitivity separately, then you have a module for visual sensitivity and also problem. I told you there are 5 types of questions in the sketching part, all the 5 questions with sample questions, showing you areas which are used as a means for your evaluation and marks in the examination. That is dealt with in this final module. Now once you are done with these lectures, you will develop the required skill set in an incremental approach with an application based knowledge. So not only this is just one part of the overall preparation course which you have. Along with this you will have a lot of practice tests, wherein you need to practice from your end for all the questions of computer based test, and also there are reference questions for part B as well, sketching and form sensitivity, visual sensitivity, so you can develop your skill set further using that those worksheets and workbooks. So that will be a comprehensive way to prepare for the CEED examination and stand ahead of others. Like I said, you have to be among the top 30% in the part A computer based test to qualify for part B, and then you have to do well in part B to stand amongst others and get admission into the top colleges, mainly IITs. So hope this video was helpful for you. You can kickstart your preparation with an understanding of this basic structure. You can now kickstart your preparation with the 71-day course for the CEED examination. Thank you.
KP classes dedicated to excellence.